Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Manga Melee podcast. This week, we got a special episode for you. We're joined by Peter and Chrissa, and we're here to discuss the DanDaDan movie, or I guess the first three episodes that were premiered in theaters early, and our first impressions of that, as well as if we're looking forward to the show in the fall season. Spoiler alert, we're all looking forward to the show during the fall season.
You don't know that. I've
So,
only
like,
been following it for 4 years, but you don't know that.
true. So, like I said, we got some special guests with us here today. Most of you guys already know our friend Peter. How you doing today, Peter?
Good. It feels weird you calling me Peter. Usually everyone just calls me Pete now. So, but it's good. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad to talk. I'm looking forward to talk about DanDaDan.
What can I say? I'm kind of like a formal guy, but I'll call you Pete if that's what you prefer. My fault. My fault.
No,
It's
it's all good.
professional here.
And then, as our guest of honor for this episode, honestly, no offense, Pete, but in terms of what's going on here, this man is kind of like the godfather of the DanDaDan fandom in the West in a lot of ways. Like he's gotten his art inspired by the series has been acknowledged by the creator himself. He was pushing it from literally chapter one, saying it was something special, and I know he's hype as fuck to see it finally animated. We got Chrissa SJE, the man himself. How are you doing today, Chrissa?
I'm good, man. I've been waiting on this moment, bro. Like I've been like itching for this. You feel me? For like 4 years, or however long, 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
However long.
it's been a minute, honestly. I was still in another. I was in an old apartment back when that started. Honestly, I had just moved into my second apartment, basically. But yeah, instead of thinking about like the perpetual march of time, how about we discuss the movie?
Yes, sir. I'm excited.
So the first thing, I'm not sure if it was the same for you guys down south, but for me and Pete's showing that we went to, the first thing they did was they had interviews with the
Mhm.
director, cast, and creator, and I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Uh, it was nice to get like an inside view into like how the sausage is made, kind of like, especially hearing like the director and the creator talk about things. What did you guys like? What did you enjoy from it first, Krista? Because I know that you've been kind of like looking up like Yukino Utatsu stuff quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I've been following Yuki no Utatsu like ever since chapter one of DanDaDan. I've been kind of like diving deeper and deeper and trying to peel back the layers and everything.
Yeah,
But I really do like the fact that I think his name is what is it, Shihei Lin, the
yeah, the
editor.
editor. Yeah, yeah,
Like I really like seeing him and Tatsu talk about it because you rarely get that before or after like anime movies, especially in theaters. I wish they would have put it right afterwards. I did like getting it preferenced. Like I like hearing the director talk about it and hearing the mangaka and the editor talk about it. But I do wish because I went there with my girlfriend. She was going in blind, had never watched anything and seen anything about DanDaDan, and it did spoil quite a bit. I wish it would have
yeah,
been like it would have been perfect bonus for afterwards. You feel me? Like, I would have stuck around in theater and finished watching it. But I did like hearing the director talk about how like he was taking the same concept of what basically Yuki Nobutatsu was doing with the manga and try to just translate it to anime because the same techniques wouldn't work
Mhm.
with like the page flip. And I really did. You really did see it, like with the lighting effects to show the Serpo for the first time. I feel like
Mhm.
I like getting that perspective because he was sitting there like I'm just the medium. I'm not here to like create the content. I'm here to enhance the content and make sure it transitions well and translates well. And I think they did a great job at that.
yeah. I wholeheartedly agree about that. I think when you were talking about like the editor and stuff, that was really interesting because editors in manga, I feel like are sort of like, especially in the West, there's something that people know about, but Western fandoms often the editors are more of like I want to blame some story
They're an
decision on
easy villain.
somebody. They're an easy target, exactly. Like so it was nice to get like some like put a face to the person who's editing that. I think Shihei Lin has done. I should know this. I should have looked it up, but I'm pretty sure that he's done quite a few things over at Weekly Shonen Jump and Jump Plus in particular. Like
Definitely.
he's a pretty well known guy. I mean, Yuki Nobutatsu was obviously an assistant for Chainsaw Man, um,
Mhm.
and that really definitely shows in everything. I do agree. I think that there's like some kind of an argument to be made that there's like two schools of thought with the animation director and stuff, him talking about not wanting to like create a thing. Because I feel like there are certain directors who they go above and beyond to try and kind of leave their mark on the series, like Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. I feel like that was like obviously it was stuff that Gege had approved of, but I feel like the director in that really wanted to like leave his mark, knowing how popular it was. I feel like there's a little bit of that here in DanDaDan as well, but it definitely feels more like we're just trying like because Tatsu's art is so intense that it is difficult to like improve upon that. It's probably better to just try and translate it as closely as you can. Josh, you've also been following DanDaDan for nearly as long as Chrissa. How did you feel getting to like hear some stuff from like the creator and the editor?
So for the record, I did double check, just out of curiosity. The day that, funny enough, you, obviously, because you're the one who usually puts me onto this kind of stuff, you told me about DanDaDan was October 10th of 2021. And I've been a consistent follower ever since then. I got current pretty quickly after that, and I've been making pretty much all my weeklies since then. I think it was really important. I think it was cool. Like I kind of agree with Chrissa a little bit. Like maybe it would have been better served at the end, but I would counter to that by saying I think they know that DanDaDan's going to be hot, especially with a lot of the other series leaving. So they wanted this to feel more like a premiere, which as someone who like I can appreciate it because like it's not one big movie like a Mugen Train or whatever. It is 3 episodes, which granted are put together very well, but you can still kind of feel that. I think they really wanted to front load that and make sure that, the people who have been there for day one, because those are the people who are going to be going to the movie, get that extra taste. Also, I would just say personally, I was kind of happy that they had it at the beginning because I was like 2 minutes late and I desperately didn't want to miss anything. So I was like, okay, cool. They got a dude in a chair. And then I was like, oh, it's the dude in the chair. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I will also mirror Chrissa. Me and my partner went as well. I've told my partner Ash a little bit about DanDaDan in general, but I've been mostly saving it because I knew the anime was coming out and we were going to end up watching it. So like some stuff didn't even get spoiled, I think, because like we were too busy being caught up in like the glamour of it all. So like, for instance, they don't even know what happens with Turbo Granny yet, which is kind of funny. So since that's like the mascot. So yeah, overall I was very happy about it. I'm really excited about the director. Like I really liked where he's kind of going through his bona fides of like, yeah, man, I've been into this shit since I was in like 8th grade. And he just has like this giant sketchbook of like, yeah, here's my composites of how I took all my favorite movies. And if I want to turn them into an animated movie, these are all the stills,
That was cool. I think that after me and Pete had gotten out of the movie, like we were talking about that particular choice to show it at the beginning. And Pete had some similar words too, if you want to kind of elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah, I kind of wish that I didn't mind it that was in the beginning, but I do feel like they put a lot of emphasis on like the day ones, like kind of what Josh was saying, that like if you're a day one, I think this is like a really cool experience, like hearing the background. But if this is your first time experiencing DanDaDan, I felt like it was kind of like an overload a little bit. I wish they kind of did like 20 minutes before, 3 episodes, 20 minutes after, or something along those lines. You do like the voice acting, like the 2 voice actors show me the show, and then go into like the director, the editor, and stuff like that. I think that would have been broken up a little bit better because I thought the 40 minutes of interview prior to, you can contest to this. Our chairs were like really nice. I was getting a little sleepy. Like,
yeah,
I was getting really comfy. I'm like, I know that this is going to get ramped up, but like, I'm a little tired right now. But I thought it was cool. Like, I love that sort of stuff. Like interviewing the directors, interviewing the cast. Like when I go to like cons, those are like the sort of like panels I look forward to, is like hearing directly from those people, like their experience. Because there's a lot of times where you hear mangakas are like, I didn't really approve of all of this, but it's a 12 episode show, blah, blah, blah. Like some things had to get cut. This was just like, yeah, like, oh, I was involved in everything. And then we were back and forth at like dinner and getting drinks. And how should we do this? I was like, oh, that's really cool to see like someone so invested into their property, and then vice versa, so accommodating to the mangaka. So that whole experience was great. The only thing that I didn't, I thought it's weird because it's not only going on in the interviews, but it's happening in like social media and how they're promoting DanDaDan, is that they use the word rom-com like 4 times at the interview, where I do think that there is a romantic subplot to DanDaDan, but promoting this as a rom-com to me, I think it's very interesting because there's a lot of people who are just like, oh, a battle action shonen with a rom-com elements. This is like really fun. And I'm like, I wouldn't really promote it that way. And they did that a lot. So I thought that was like a very interesting choice to like market, but they're getting me to talk about it, so it's working. So props to them for doing that. But I thought that was just interesting that they called that out like 3 or 4 times in the interview. Because I think they said like who's the manga again? Tatsu?
Yukinobu Tatsu, yeah.
Tatsu's like, yeah, I read like 100 shoujo manga before diving into this, and so I can have a better understanding of writing the romance. It's like the romance is like the 5th most important thing in this story. I feel like their relationship, I think, is super important, but like the romance, the actual romance, I feel like is like the 5th most important thing. So kind of interesting how they like layered it and promoted it, but I think overall, I would love to see more anime like this, where like a 3-episode thing and then like a 30-minute interview at theaters. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, that would have gone crazy for Freerin, honestly. Like, because they did the same thing. Like Freerin had the 3-episode premiere, or Oshinoko. Oshinoko also would have gone crazy with it.
Oshinoko is pretty much my peak for this kind of thing.
It's going to be like everybody's peak for this kind of thing, I'm pretty sure.
At the same time, the layout of the chapters just aren't the same for DanDaDan. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that build and then sudden bam.
I honestly felt like they kind of gave me blue balls with where it ended. We'll talk about it later, but like it ended like right before shit gets really interesting, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did not end where I thought it was.
Yeah. That, to go a little bit off topic, or not off topic, but onto what Pete had said about the rom-com element of it. And you two can kind of talk about it a little bit more because you would know better than the two of us since y'all are current with everything. I kind of agree with Pete about like rom-com being a weird way to describe it, because I feel like as someone who read I think I read like 60 chapters of DanDaDan before I got busy reading other weekly stuff and fell off. I feel like the like rom-com element of it wasn't super explored where I was at, and I don't really see a way that they're going to animate much more than that,
like season 1 and 2 pacing.
Yeah So I do agree with Pete in a way, and you guys can kind of chime in here. Chrissa, if you want to start off with, do you think that the rom-com aspect becomes more important later on, or do you think that this is kind of like and in a non-derogatory way, like I'm not blaming them for trying to like get advertising buzz, but do you think that this is just kind of like them adding it as a buzzword to draw more people in, or would you say it's like a core element?
Definitely. Like I'll say I agree with Pete, because I definitely did notice, especially in the promotional run for this anime, especially the anime, because the manga, they don't really promote it as much like that. The manga, they more so heavily promote the sci-fi horror aspects of it, like the ghosts and aliens. Yeah. But the anime, they're definitely pushing the rom-com agenda. And I will say, I do think that DanDaDan's rom-com elements do start popping up later. And not to spoil anything, but we just got the beginning of it.
We got a big pop.
Like for this specific movie, or like what's it called? First Encounter, for the 3 episodes, you don't really see too much of that. Like they kind of start hinting at it, but it doesn't really start bubbling till later on. Like I don't even know if we're gonna start seeing the romance elements really get prevalent until the end of the first season. Like I feel like we're not gonna get. It starts turning into the not to spoil anything, but it starts turning into the whole not triangle, but it's like the polygon.
It's like when Gigi and Ira start being more of characters.
Yeah, when they pop in, you start seeing that rom-com kind of get played with a little bit. But I do think that DanDaDan, one of its strengths is that it has the romance element, it has the action element, the suspense element, the sci-fi, the occult. There's so much going on, and I feel like they're juggling it well. But I feel like you can't call it a rom-com over a sci-fi, or a sci-fi over an action, or it's just balancing a lot of things to where I think rom-com, like Pete said, is probably like the 5th thing it does well. Like it's one of those things that it's there, but I don't think we saw it too much in these first 3 episodes.
And it's not to make the rom-com aspect of it seem like unimportant or anything. It's like you said, there's just so much going on in this manga. It's kind of, or in anime as well. It's kind of like Golden Kamuy, where like Golden Kamuy had like the sort of like romance aspect of it with certain characters. And it was great when they did it, like with Tanigaki and stuff. But there's like the hunting aspect and the historical aspect and the action aspect and all that. It's like a very similar thing. And honestly, I think that that's like the closest comparison to it in terms of like what it's doing is Golden Kamuy in a lot of ways.
And I do have to say as well, when it comes to like DanDaDan being a rom-com and just focusing on the romance, I feel like, the editor was stressing, we got him reading a bunch of shoujos. And I feel like when you look at his one-shots before DanDaDan, those are way more like not even rom-com, just straight up romance. Like he has a bunch of projects where he really dived into the whole romance aspect. But at the same time, DanDaDan is not going full force with it like that,
Yeah.
It's just one of the elements it has. I feel like I've seen him do he can do romance really well, but I think he's more so slow playing that romance plot line.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may interject.
Sure.
Just because I think I'm the one right now who only has, like, I'd say the big differing opinion. I would not say the rom-com aspect is the fifth most important thing. I'd say it's probably the most important overall storyline and the thing that I think is most consistent. Again, I think kind of a slow burn. And I will just say this before I get more into that is like, I will agree. I don't necessarily know if I would use that necessarily for the full publication because it is supposed to be kind of a slow burn. I would have preferred them not hype it up as much because I think it should be kind of coquettish a little bit. Like it's, especially when we were first getting into it, it's like a boy and a girl. And one of the nice things about it is that both the main characters, they both have equal weight. She pulls her weight in fights just like he does. And we absolutely do not get that romantic tension immediately. It is probably, whenever it comes to shonen manga at the very least, the best romance that we have. Granted, I'm currently reading Undead Unluck. That has like a slow build and a mutual respect thing that builds up. And they both kind of morph into each other. And we do also get other characters that kind of throw a wrench into it, but not so much in a like teenage drama done for the sake of drama way, but in a sort of, there are other semi-compatible people that other people also like, and that could organically happen, even though I do think they are kind of like the OTP. But I do think it is important, especially as Chris has said in recent chapters that I won't get too into, but like it is the consistent milestone that even whenever the current ghost threat or the current alien threat or the current both threat kind of like come in and do their thing, that is like the relationships between both the two mains and also our side characters as our side cast grow, not just romantically, but also as a friend group. Because remember, as we saw from the episodes, Okaroon, the whole reason why he even cares about aliens was because he was like, the only way I'm going to make friends is by literally getting aliens to abduct me. And we slowly start to see that morph out, and like the character development's great, and like the friend group actually anything, even though they're literally all otaku for different shit and weird in their own way. So I wouldn't necessarily agree that it's like super far back, but I wouldn't have advertised it as such. I think that's meant to try and like get a little bit more mass appeal specifically for
100%.
I mean, shit, it worked for Chrissa and me. Like we brought our partners there, you know what I mean, or whatever.
I also brought my partner there too. That is correct. Yeah.
So yeah,
I went with Jay. I third wheeled.
Yeah.
both of my brother's partners, Pete
It's
and
okay.
also Simone.
Pete, you're our favorite person to have third wheel in the city with us, even though we weren't in the city for the theater. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was great, guys. I think that maybe we're ready to actually jump into discussing the episodes, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I think it starts off pretty strong. Like we get the sort of like connection between like, well, we start off with Momo having her fight with her boyfriend. And is that I believe that this guy, and I don't want to talk about it too much, does he come back or is that another one of her exes that comes back?
Yeah, no, I don't think he comes back if I'm not mistaken.
Because I remember people having some like emotional reaction to some punk ass being, I'm not gonna get too into it. It's manga.
Oh no, he's not that dude. He's not nearly cool enough to be that dude.
Okay, got you. Word. I should really catch back up, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It is going crazy right now.
Honestly, okay, so I'm gonna keep it real with you. I never realized reading the manga, and maybe I'm just stupid. I never realized Momo was a gal until
me either. They
anime,
used that term, and I was
Same.
like, "Oh, she is a Garu." Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like
It's like I guess she is.
it makes sense with like how she dresses and like kind of her attitude,
Her mannerisms.
like she's rebellious and whatnot. So like it does make a bit of sense. But I never realized that until they just like mentioned it in the interview we were just talking about with the voice actors. So that was pretty interesting.
She's got like the world's like lightest little tan to it, but I kind of just thought that's how the covers were going. But I guess that's intentional.
I mean, okay, going
Compared
forward
to
a
her
little
friend.
bit, we see her gal friends.
Yeah.
One of them was frightening as shit. I
It's a lot.
is that okay? Is that character dark skinned, or are they doing like black body? I guess would be the phrase for it, because it's like the hands and shit too. Like I don't know what's going on here. I was frightened though. I'll admit that. I thought that was our first supernatural encounter at first.
I ain't gonna lie, she definitely looks a lot better in the manga. In the anime, I was like, whoo, that was kind of like off-putting a little bit, seeing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I definitely
yeah.
think she's a darker skin character, but she does a lot of extra stuff with the makeup to make it look
Okay,
even weirder.
I was thinking it was like full on like doing the hands and shit too. I was like, that's a bit
Yeah.
much, but
Garu
I'm down
were
for it if it's not that,
an
honestly.
interesting little sub faction thingy that I don't completely know.
It's
I don't know if I have permission
from
to
what
feel
I've
like
seen
that.
of like real gals, like it wouldn't surprise me if it was like full on black face makeup in
It
the
could
hands
be,
and
honestly.
everything. Yeah.
Like a super tan,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
like on some like Snooki type stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Almost.
exactly. Jersey Shore type shit. Basically.
I've seen this in other anime where they kind of do this, where like I can't tell. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just like a poke at Garu's or whatever, but like this is not the first time I've seen like this where I'm like questioning it.
I feel like I've seen at least one anime like in the past year where this was another thing I questioned.
I will say I almost wish that we do hang out with them a little bit, and they're friends, they love Momo. I kind of wish they were involved in our group a little bit more, because then we could maybe even talk about it, like
Get some
hey,
TVD Tadoke shit going on.
yeah, you know what I mean. Being like,
yeah.
hey homie, what's up with gal culture, and is that your skin tone?
Hey everybody, let's go for a swim. Like that would be kind of neat, I don't know. So we meet our two leads. We meet Akarun. He's not Akarun at this point. We meet I don't even know what they're calling him. Isn't she just calling him like a cult coon or something at first? And then it gets
Yeah,
short
she
to
definitely doesn't know his
Akarun.
name at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
she just calls him like science nerd at the very start.
yeah. And then we obviously meet Momo. And I think that we sort of get a hint at what their chemistry is going to be like already. Obviously, Momo is portrayed as very like self-confident. She's doing what she wants. Like she's going in and out of like random classrooms and shit, not really caring. And then we have like Akurun, who is, I mean, just look at his haircut. You don't even see his eyes for like the first 20 minutes behind his glasses. And I think that that's like a purposeful choice to make him seem like meeker and stuff. Like the first moment where we actually see his eyes is a moment where Momo is sort of like turning him into a human being in her head, I guess, if that makes sense. Like she's actually like seeing him as not an NPC. This was obviously like a pretty big like moment, or not necessarily moment, but the first episode sets the tone, obviously. And Chrissa, you've been here since the beginning. How did you feel that like they adapted that first episode compared to the manga?
I definitely loved it. There's certain things like I have my issues with certain parts, but as far as like the whole, I don't want to say slice of lifey elements, but the whole like just day-to-day elements of the comedy. I think to me one of the most important aspects of DanDaDan is that comedy, and I feel like they capture that perfectly. I was really nervous going into the premiere that they weren't gonna get that same feel that I got from reading the manga, because I've gotten genuine laughs from the manga. Just kind of think that Yukinobu Tatu has a good sense of humor in the way he drives it in and the way he sneaks the jokes in. It doesn't seem like corny or like inauthentic. Everything feels natural. And I feel like they did a great job of adapting that humor. I love, like how you said, how you barely even see Okarun's eyes at the beginning of the whole series. He just looks like a goofball NPC. And I think they captured that whole him being all, crazy and standing out over his alien shit when he's first talking to Momo, like any nerd would. Like you get into it, you start talking all like she kind of gets lost in it. She's like, bro, okay, you got too much dipper. You're getting way too excited right now. You feel me?
Yeah.
And honestly,
you're way too familiar too.
Chrissa, Josh, you can probably relate to this. You know what it reminds me of? Like being a nerd in like the South in like the 2000s, and like the prettiest girl in your class is like, "Hey, friend," like because they don't know your name.
Literally,
like that's literally what it reminded me of. It's like, am I about to get like bullied right now?
Yeah,
by a beautiful like girl. Is that what's about to happen? And a lot of the time it wasn't, but like I understand where Akarun was coming from, especially when like somebody who you don't expect to have like
Mhm.
even somewhat of an interest in what you're doing. Like it kind of like he's such an isolated character, and like that's just like was his way into like human society in a way.
Mhm.
Almost like it was like she was kind of pulling him out of that, and I really liked that aspect of it. Pete, you're somebody who's a sorry to interrupt you, Josh, but Pete, you're somebody who's a like pretty big connoisseur of the romance genre. How do you think that this compares to like other, especially like shonen, but not just shonen romances, in terms of like setting up the dynamic between our main characters right at the start?
Yeah, I think they do a great job at establishing like their relationship in general, but not from like a romantic sense. So kind of like what Josh was pointing out from the previous conversation, that I think DanDaDan does a great job at like really making you understand their relationship. Like they care for each other, they love each other, their connections are slowly building. I think in terms of like if we're specifically talking shonen, it's very stereotypical where it's very slow burn, very, very slow burn. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they wouldn't be a actual. I don't know the manga spoiler, so I could be 100% wrong. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't become an actual couple until like the second to last chapter or something like that. Because what I see in like shonen properties most of the time is they know how to write the chase, but they don't know how to write the relationship. And I think
Spy Family.
well, I think Spy Family is completely different. Like I think the connection between the two is like almost irrelevant. But with this, it's like even in the anime, you see like Momo's heart skip a beat when like Ken Otarun or whatever his name is like shows up and he's like, oh, he's like manly, and she's like, oh my god, Doki Doki, my heart skipped the beat. Like I think that was fun. Like it's the setup there for the relationship. I think that's really fun. I think they do a great job. I know what to expect when I jump into these styles of shows, that I'm not looking for a committed relationship where it emphasizes on the romance and their relationship, but I do like the fact that they do a fantastic job at the connection between the two and just how they feel for each other, how they care for each other. And not only them, but like when we get introduced to the more of the cast, they do a great job at like building a team. And so I gotta give props to DanDaDan for that, because I think they do it significantly better than a lot of other like shonen properties that they'll like hint at it, or they'll do like 2 or 3 chapters for it, and then they'll just disregard it for like 30 chapters. Like it's a core emphasis of the show.
Yeah.
So I gotta give DanDaDan props where props is due.
Yeah, obviously when it comes to like shonen romance, a lot of the time the bar is especially not like when it's properties that aren't like strictly like a shonen romance isn't their primary thing they're doing. It's like a side thing, like in
Yeah,
a battle
100%.
manga. Like the bar is in hell, but it's doing better than the bar. Like it's crossing the bar and then doing even better than that. In my opinion. Also, I posted a picture of the real life Takakura Kin. If you guys want to see him in the Zoom, he died in 2014 and was 83 years old.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, she's into the like basically it's the equivalent of like, you know, girls now being really into like John Wayne.
Yeah,
almost.
He's kind of like
grandma watches all the old shit.
Yeah, he's kind of like Jason Statham from what I'm seeing. Like that's
he's like a badass. He's basically just like the.
Can I say one more thing about the shonen romance thing?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because Chrissa can touch on this for with 100% with coming up as well with Blue Box, where shonen properties do this thing where it's like develop the relationship, roadblock, develop the relationship, roadblock, and it's just like it never progresses the way you want it to. And I think what DanDaDan does better than say something like Blue Box is it doesn't emphasize the focus of them becoming a couple. It's emphasizing them becoming partners, them becoming family, them becoming best friends. And I think that's what it sets. It's like it plants the seed of something blooming that I think does really well, that I appreciate, where it's not like, okay, we have to start dating, we have to date other people within the core group or something like that to develop drama. It's just it's fun. It's just a good time. So that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with like where they are prefacing that this is a rom-com. I'm like, it has romance, it has comedy. I don't think it's a romantic comedy.
Yeah. It would be like it'd be like if you advertised Undead Unluck as a rom-com. It's like, yeah, but no.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Andy and Fuko love each other and stuff, but like, is that what you're reading Undead Unluck for? I'm sure there's some people out there that's for sure that's what they're reading it for, but I wouldn't say that's like the focal point of the story, and to market it that way to me seems odd, but hey, it's working. I'm talking about it.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of to, and I'll let you go right after this, Josh. I think it's kind of to capture that one portion of the community who loves shit like Aaliyah hides her feelings in Russian,
Ooh.
or Hokkaido gals are super adorable, that sort of thing. I think it's trying to capture that portion of seasonal anime watchers in particular.
Agreed.
Especially in Japan.
More.
So sorry, Josh, go ahead on with your point. My bad, dog.
No worries. It's all good. Yeah, so I think episode 1 is really good. I also like the fact that they do show like I will say this. I do wonder, I'm not usually a big subs versus dubs guy. We did get a teaser today. I wonder if we'll keep some of like the nuances, and I hate saying that, but as I say it, Okarun in the way that he talks and the way he communicates is actually very like specific, especially even, and they do translate it pretty well in the manga. Like he always calls her Misayase. He's always like very respectful, until it starts touching on something he knows a lot about. And then, like a true nerd, then he kind of forgets himself and he's like, oh, nah, man, it's whatever. Like, fucking ghost or whatever. Aliens are where it's at. You're kind of dumb for saying it. And to be honest with you, it sounds like your grandma's a fraud. You know, like things that like he never would pop off about if it weren't for like the specific facet, you know. And he's very respectful to her. The way that he kind of sees himself as a void, I love the fake out, and also we get more contextualization for the fake out whenever we do get that bit where they have their first interaction, and then later on we see like, oh, he was so excited to talk with her, he didn't even remember the book at first. Like he had to literally run back, grab it off the thing, and be like, I get it, I know you why you talk to me. You're in love. And obviously, fake out. He's like, you're in love with aliens. You get this shit too. We're on the same wavelength, dog. Space Force is happening. Loch Ness Monster. I get you. And then she, you know, she's like, ease up, man. I know aliens don't exist. Ghost, however, that's where it is. You know, and they do almost have like a back and forth, like I think almost sibling, I would say sibling relationship with the way that they kind of pick at each other. But I think that's a lot of relationships, especially in high school, where like, you know, like my brother said earlier, like if someone is suspiciously nice to you or overly sweet, you can kind of see that as fake. And while I think I think a lot of people, when you're mature enough, you don't instantly have resentment towards that, but you do have suspicion, and you have your small, nice interaction, and then you just leave it at B or whatever, because you know that that's all it's meant to be, and you keep going.
Yeah.
Whereas people actually engage with you on some level, or like even pick at you, even if it's to lightly make fun of the thing you care about, at least that's a dialogue that's starting and it's a back and forth. And I think that's where some of the strongest relationships are. I have relationships that started that way in my personal life that I'm still carrying 12 years later that are still like vivid and important, all because, you know, one person was like, oh, you like history? That like, we're going to this museum or whatever, like what's cool here and what's lame? And I'm like, well, it's World War II, so you know.
Yeah, I for sure get what you're saying. I think that like it does a really good job of showing that like Akurun is just waiting for like one person to like take interest in him. And we got it, like it's a little bit of spoilers for the manga, but we get that later on with Gigi as well, where like at first he's very confrontational with him, but then they start nerding out about like boy shit, and they're just like BFFs, at least where I'm at. Like they're into the same shit. Like all that competition that they have because they have like a mutual female friend like evaporates. So for the most part, at least where I'm at.
And to its credit, they do it pretty quickly. Also, I just want to say the fact that we got Gigi in a flashback made me so happy.
Oh, did we? I didn't even notice.
The kid who she says the boy I liked, that's Gigi. And if you know that, then you know he was not making fun of her whatsoever. He just want to be included.
Yeah. That's crazy. Damn. See, okay, the anime, this is skipping forward a little bit, but it does a good job of like making you feel smart for noticing shit. Because like when they're doing, okay, we'll just skip to the second episode because I think that's when shit really starts to get interesting, when they're doing the like the Ghost Adventures / Ancient Aliens type shit. I felt so smart for being like, wait, why does the moon look completely different in these two places? And then you get a payoff for that later on. I think that this is going to be one of those things where one of those anime where it has rewatchability for people, because it's like you get to notice shit because of, again, of how the director purposefully said that he wanted to translate that feeling of like turning the page. Like part of that feeling of turning the page is seeing something going like, wait, how did that happen? And then going back and looking for environmental storytelling and clues like that. So I think that that's going to be a really interesting thing to say, or to see rather, from the especially the direction. Shout out my guy who was directing it. I believe it's Fuga Yamashiro, also the assistant director for a lot of my favorite Science Saru stuff like Inuo and Keep Your Hands Off Isaac Kid. This man knows ball is basically what I'm saying. The series is in good hands. So second episode, I love their like phone conversation that we kind of start off on. Like I think that's really fun, like them just talking on the phone as they do that shit because like first of all, you would never, even for that bet, you would never catch me going to that. Either one of those locations, actually, but especially not that abandoned hospital. Can we talk a little bit about how fucking crazy these kids are to be doing that shit? Like, I get it's a manga and you need the plot to push forward, but like, that's like some cream of the crop, like white person in a horror movie type shit. Like, if this was a different genre of manga, it'd be, like. Speak on it, guys. Somebody, please tell me I'm not going crazy here.
Let me pose
definitely.
a question. If you had to choose between one or the other, you going in the hospital or you going in the tunnel?
The tunnel. I'm going in the tunnel, 100%.
I'm going to the hospital for sure. Not because the hospital is less scary, but because the concept of aliens is less scary than the concept of ghosts. But the hospital setting is way scarier than the tunnel. Like
I feel like the hospital is more dangerous if the aliens don't exist because like it could like like the floor could cave through. You could get tetanus.
That's exactly where I'm at. Like for me, it's like how old is the hospital? Like if it's abandoned but not that old.
What was this tunnel used for? Is my question.
But like you said, like the building, if it falls in or whatever, I'm just dead. If the tunnel's like down there, it's like I get to stay in the tunnel and then I walk back out.
I mean, the tunnel could collapse too, though.
Yeah.
What about you? Had a tunnel issue too.
What about you, Pete? Where are you going?
I don't know. It's like the less like double-edged sword. I feel like it's a loser. I'd probably go tunnel, but
Pete's staying home.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Pete ghosted. He's calling Momo and says, "I'm for sure in the tunnel."
I'm playing video games.
I'm streaming right now.
Why does my Steam Mobile say you're in a deadlock game right now? But
I brought my Steam Deck. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if you had Future Sight and you knew that they were real, and you're either getting cursed by Turbo Granny or your banana organs taken by aliens, what are you doing? Ooh. I feel like I could live without my banana organs.
Yeah.
I don't know why Ocarin's tripping so much about it, bro. Honestly, it would have simplified my life a lot if my shit got taken at that age.
But you still get horny.
I would have made oh, you do?
I think so. Like he never says that he has. I mean, he's Ocarin, so he's not very open about it, but I don't think it really affects that.
He just has to poop now, though, right? Because he didn't.
Yeah, the peeing doesn't matter anymore. But I still think he feels.
Bro, I can drink so much beer now.
Except for
that might actually be tactical.
I never have to break the seal.
I don't. But yeah, I think getting kidnapped by aliens is probably better than Turbo Granny just because of the possession angle. Like,
yeah, I mean, okay, go ahead.
If I knew it was about to be an alien versus ghost thing, I'm going with the aliens. But honestly, I don't think I could go into because I would look at a hospital like it would be haunted. Like I would be more scared of.
It feels a little traitorous of you, Chrissa. Let's go in on that a little bit. So, okay, first off, let me ask you something, Chrissa. Would you betray all of humanity for a jetpack? Like a jetpack, like the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas unlimited fuel jetpack?
I don't know. Because I'm scared of heights. I don't know if I'd even want to.
I think you would get over it. I would get over it if I got a jetpack, bro. Like, because they say the best way to get over your fears is to face them, right? What better way to face your fear of heights than a jetpack?
That actually makes a lot of sense. I probably would do it then.
Yeah,
just to see. Test the waters.
Right, cool. Yeah, I thought you would betray us based on what curse your sudden and inevitable betrayal.
This is for the space noids, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm getting abducted by aliens 100% just because that shit sounds cool as fuck.
They give you a cool metal.
They don't,
dude.
Okay, a lot of the people that I've heard talk about that shit though, like I don't necessarily believe anybody who says they were abducted by aliens, but a lot of people, they don't make it sound fun. Like it doesn't sound super fun is the main issue. Like I was watching.
That's why.
Go ahead.
I don't believe, like how you said, I don't believe a lot of people have gotten abducted by aliens because it's all like similar stories. I'm like, bro, it probably is aliens from different
It
Like
can't
all
all be the
aliens pull up
same,
and just do the
right?
same shit.
Yeah, they all do
Like
the
they
same
just probe
thing.
you. I
Yeah.
was like, nah, man.
Well,
Why
but
are
then
they so
again,
obsessed with butts?
I was gonna say, would it? I mean, wouldn't it almost make more sense if it is just one sect and they're like known as the weird, the diddlers of the alien community? Like,
Yeah. Oh god, like we get introduced to like the Galactic Council, like, bruh, we're so sorry. Like they have to actually like the reason why they
They
were
have to
showing up
register.
is they have to tell you that they've entered your system every time they come.
mhm.
Like, you know, I don't know. But
Let me one more hypothetical. Let's say
Sure.
you do end up having to go the turbo grinding route. If you have a partner, use them, but if not, use your best friend, I guess. Would you trust them to do the Momo thing of like, no, dude, you got to focus on my
Simone,
brain or I'm
100%.
gonna turn.
Simone would
You
definitely
would?
do that shit.
You don't think she's gonna
100%.
get distracted?
No, definitely not.
I've met Simone. I love her, but
Yeah, you're projecting right now, knowing your partner. You're projecting.
I'm just gonna fight Turbo Granny day one. I'm not gonna live with that forever. I'm either gonna die or I'm gonna win. What about
Fair
you two,
enough.
though?
I don't know. I think it's insane. Turbo Granny, the first thing you hear from her is like, let me go. Like,
Yeah.
it's some wild shit, bro. Because, like, the thing is, in the manga, you don't really see Turbo Granny on that kind of timing again. I don't know if that's just her go to thing to fuck with people. Like, when they pull up in the tunnel, it's like, oh, I'm going to get them. This is going to be the terror. Like, imagine you run into a ghost. And not only it's a ghost, but it's an old lady ghost. There was a horror movie I watched the other
ghost,
day.
yeah.
Man, I wish I knew the name of this horror movie, bro. But it was a horror movie with Kid Cudi. And it was like it took place in the like in the middle of like the country. Like these people. It was
you're talking about Pearl.
I think so. They were shooting
No,
like
not
a
Pearl.
70s
It's
porno or something.
X. It's X is the first one. Yeah.
No, it is X.
Yeah.
Because
I remember.
it is a sequel. It does have it's a two-parter.
Yeah.
But
Kid
like
Cudi
there was an
definitely
old
told
lady.
them I need to hang dong, and it's got to be big. Like, because he
Literally.
was hanging dong a lot in that movie.
1,000%. But that's because the movie was
About a
revolved
porno,
around about a porno. But the thing is, they're staying at these old people's
Goodbye,
house,
YouTube
and it's like
money.
an older couple, and it's like definitely the older people there are like the horror aspect of it. They're like the Freddy and Jason run around trying to kill all the people. But the lady in that movie was super horny and she was super terrifying. So I could understand because at first when I was reading the manga, I was like, man, she's not really that scary. Like he ran out of the thing, like, she's trying to suck my meat. It's like, bro, I would be sitting there like, what? You trying to,
Well, I feel like, was it maybe trying to mirror the like sexually violent aspect that, because they censored it a bit in the anime, and I'm glad that they did it in a somewhat tasteful manner of what happened to Momo, because Momo, like obviously the Sepoyans were going to, like, they were assaulting her. They were going to assault her.
Probes and shit, yeah.
Was it made to maybe mirror that aspect of it? And like you said,
but hers was way worse.
Was it?
The shit into the stick.
Oh, hers. I thought you meant Granny's was way worse at first. Sorry. Yes. Momo's was
no.
Yes. I understand what you mean. I was going to say, because all Granny did was she just said, let me gobble that dick. Like that. She was just basically catcalling him, which is terrible.
Yeah, just an advance. Yeah.
She's like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's awful. But.
Well, if I can give a little background into her specific yokai, actually. So I learned this. And first of all, one, I do think is made to mirror that. But two, that yokai in specific is supposed to be actually a guardian of young women. So like Okurun's actually the worst person to send in there because like if a man goes there, she's going to kill them because that's usually a case of like she's meant to almost be a trapdoor spider for violent men. So she thought that Okurun was like sent there by someone who he had hurt, and she was like, "All right, cool, another scumbag dude. I'm just gonna." And
is this
finish it.
Okay? Sorry to interrupt you, but is this like a I understand this is like the real, or the real life legend of that yokai. Does this become like, is this like part of her lore in the?
They do touch on a little bit, and I also think there's some data book stuff. Because they also go into like the feats of the different yokai or whatever, and they get into like she's meant to be a guardian, which is why after everything goes down, she's chiller.
Mm-hmm.
And why she's never actually all that mean to the ladies, really, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's also part of the reason. She was
kind of rude to Granny, but
that's hag on hag violence, according to them.
But she did kind of call Momo a hag and everything, and Momo was like, chill.
But see, that's why I think Okurun was able to go through her phone, is because whenever Granny's taking over, here's Momo's in trouble, and she's like, nope, She's gonna come
And
in here and fuck up some male aliens.
That does. Yeah,
I was thinking that when you said that too, because she like literally bit the alien's banana organ off as soon as she pulled up.
Yeah. That is true. Interesting. I'm looking forward to because I really like. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who's like watch it or hasn't read the manga. But Turbo Granny, she sticks around for a bit. She's a more important character than you might believe. She's not just some random like villain of the week. I'm interested to see if they develop that a bit more in the anime. I like when we can get like characterization like that, as well as the GG flashback, that sort of thing. I think that they're doing a really good job with that. And then, honestly, okay, so the last episode, I'm going to keep it. I told Josh this before we started recording. I'm going to keep it a beam with you. I forgot that this happened at all in the manga. Like, I did not remember this scene. I thought it was anime original at first, but obviously I'm wrong. But I don't know. I like the way they did it. I think that they definitely made it stand out more than the original manga. It did also make me interested in, man, DanDaDan would actually be pretty fun if they did like a black and white version of it, huh? Like, I think that would be kind of cool to see a black and white anime sometimes. Chrissa, you can start us off. What did you think about how they adapted this little like mini arc into an episode?
So I definitely got to speak on this, especially because we were just talking about like the romance aspect and we were just talking about like Gigi and Turbo Granny. I do, Turbo Granny is one of my favorite characters. I think, all the characters we get evolve into like lovable characters and characters you actually care about that are compelling. I will say, I'm glad that with this last episode, they took so long to stretch it out, because I remember in the manga, it just kind of, you kind of rolled through the dialogue-y parts and like the interaction parts, which are really important to this series. And you just kind of get to the action and everybody remembers the crazy parts, like the crazy monsters, the crazy aliens that show up. But like, I feel like a lot of the important parts of DanDaDan are the character interactions. Like, as far as like, the romance aspect of it, it kind of has that will they, won't they aspect to it. But it also, like how Josh was saying earlier, how Pete was saying, like, literally they're developing relationships as human beings first before just like your typical romance anime where there's like a guy likes girl or girl likes guy and they chase them. And, it's kind of like they're building a friendship at first. And I feel like each character that kind of comes into the cast gets their own like attention focused on their personality and where they fit necessarily into the family that they're building. And I think that given a whole episode to just Seiko, like Momo's grandma, pulling up and kind of giving her a thorough introduction and letting her like the whole the last episode is the one I think where they were talking outside of that little outhouse where Okuran's in the outhouse. And I feel like I don't remember that part in the manga being that long and that drawn out, but I feel like you really needed to see that interaction. You see these characters' relationships grow, and I feel like that's one of the most important aspects of DanDaDan, the character interaction. They all feel authentic. It doesn't feel forced. It feels like these characters are really getting to know each other and they're really growing through the situations they go through. And I can't wait to see that unfold more than the ghost of the week or the alien of the week. I can't wait to see the new characters get introduced and how they interact, because in the manga it was really good, but I feel like they're gonna really draw that part out in the anime.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that the hallmark of like a good like battle shonen in particular is like, obviously you want a diverse cast of characters so you can have a large group of people with interesting fighting styles based on their personality or whatever. But having that is like, that's just the mark of like a good shonen. What elevates it to a great one is what you said, where each character feels like they have their own agency, their own goals, like their moments where they're having character development and stuff like that. Off the top of my head, like obviously, DanDaDan has that. Something like Undead Unluck also does it really well. And Kagurabachi, honestly, is starting to do that as well with how they're doing the whole found family aspect too, in my opinion. I think that it's just something to look for if you're interested in like good shonen, honestly, because it's something that consistently comes up in all the good shonen I've read. Hell, like something like the Bugle Call, even shout out that. Go watch our review on it that me and Josh did. Yeah, it's just awesome. And I think that developing Seiko's character, like I love Seiko. She's probably overall my favorite character. Obviously, like I love like a strong woman, especially like an older woman who's like powerful and elegant. as well as like, like she has a fantastic design, despite her looking nothing like she did in that flashback, which was kind of weird.
She
She looked way older in the flashback somehow. Are they going to explain that?
well,
She like gets hotter as she gets older.
yeah,
Yep.
like I think if anything, it might be her taking interest in Momo's Garu style because she gets punky, she puts her hair up or whatever.
Oh,
I think it's meant to
Definitely.
be like her granddaughter's rubbing off on her type of thing.
okay. That's a good way to see that actually. And I also just, one of my favorite like types of characters is a character that uses a baseball bat as a weapon.
Mhm.
That shit is just peak design
Yeah.
to me, honestly. Right up there with oversized sweaters and multiple bow ties.
Yo,
as
get
Pete
your
would
own
say.
bit, bro.
I said as Pete would say. I said as Pete would say. I'm giving you credit.
Don't forget shark teeth.
Oh, well, dude, I've been on Shark Teeth timing ever since like Free came out. So, I'll accept at least partial for that since we didn't know each other at the time.
All right, fair.
Yeah, I thought that this episode did it really well. I thought that like it was interesting to see how Momo and Seiko like bounce off of each other. Like
Mhm.
obviously like Seiko constantly saying like I'm a fraud, like
Yeah.
to kind of like protect
Oh.
her in a way, like like I don't know, like maybe you guys can kind of, or Josh, you can kind of go more into
Yeah.
that. Give us some.
Well, obviously, like a big part of that is just a case of like she really held on to because obviously, they kind of had a bit of tension. First of all, we don't know what happened with Will's parents. We don't know what happened with Okrins either, although I have theories. But not to speculate. So she adopted her young or whatever, and she tried to teach her in the traditional ways in a world that she knew was real. And like it does go into play later of like, oh no, all the things I told you, like, no, that actually has been helping. Not just because you just found out about it, you always needed to be protected. But and then like she gets made fun of, so she starts rebelling and doing the punk thing, and she starts going more Gary with it. And then at one point they have the big scene where she's like, "You're a fraud. This is bullshit. Like you're getting made fun of for no reason, and you won't even tell me about it." And ever since then, at that point, Psycho still does her like overall work, but she does the Spirit Medium show, which I loved that part, and the reveal afterward that she was right about everything. And she doesn't care if people call her fraud because the most important in her life already called her a fraud at such an early age, and she's still nursing that wound. She's like, yeah, I guess I'm a fraud. I literally kill and beat demons, but my granddaughter doesn't acknowledge it, so whatever. And like kind of throws it back in her face, and it's whenever Moto finally is like, no, you're right. That's what to me to say. You're my grandmother. I love you. Like, this is important. Please help my best friend or my soon to be best friend. And she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's in the back. And also a key point, obviously, like at the very, very end of the episode, they have the moment that I didn't even remember for the manga. That might be anime only, but I don't remember it at least, where they have the scene where he's in like the bathroom and then Turbo Gray takes over. And then we have like the Zoroardo time stop. And then like Psycho is just there and you see the blood dripping out of her nose from her ear. And Turbogun is like, yeah, I was going to give you guys like forever to train or whatever, but that's dumb. I'm giving your grandma right now the choice. Does she want to die by a stroke or a heart attack? Really throwing some actual menace into it and reminding us that like these spirits are actually not to be fucked with. And Turbo Granny is actually very high in the pecking order. And it gives Momo more of a reason to get into the fight other than just she wants to help out, our boy Ken.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that was a good way to show that. I wholeheartedly agree. That third episode, I think that might have been overall my favorite episode just due to the characterization of it. I thought it was done supremely well. Do you guys have anything else you want to discuss from the 3 episodes?
In episode 2, they crash a UFO and it's never brought up. Does that ever get brought back up again?
That was kind of weird. That it like kind of destroyed like a large section of highway and like a cliffside, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
As well as the hospital falling apart.
I think I can explain it. So the Sherpo stuff uses like the nanoskin. There's probably a team that came out like right after and reclaimed all that shit. Because they do go into hiding later, so they probably like hurry up and were like, and the turbo skin can make anything and pretty much anything, so they probably were like zip zap zoop. That hospital never actually existed. Don't worry about it, and also forget the fucking crater.
Yeah,
if I had to guess, they don't say it explicitly, honestly, but yeah.
Yeah, like reading DanDaDan, honestly, you see a lot of things happen in the world, and to me, like it makes DanDaDan the fact that things get so chaotic and crazy scale to the point where there's big city scale fights going on later on in the manga. Not to spoil anything, but like literally. There's some fights that happen that do damage to the environment and everything, and it's consequential. But then more times than not, there's like crazy things happening, and you're like, oh my God, people are going to see this. and then it just never gets brought up again, and things go back to normal. Like I've seen in there that like they've addressed it in the manga before, where like stuff has happened, and they're like, wait, wasn't this just destroyed a second ago, and it's back to normal? So there's something going on to where after these big scale things where, you know, like a UFO breaks the street, or if like a building gets broken, after the fight is over, everything goes back to normal. And everybody's like, huh? What kind of happened?
Men in Black
kind of never explained
it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Like there's like
they never explained it, but you see it. They expressed it that it's happening, but they just don't say why.
There's like a veil mechanic going on, I think specifically for the yokai when they do shit. When the aliens do shit, I do think, and I think we're just starting to get maybe the tiniest little bit of a hint that there is a force kind of working behind the scenes that is not alien or human. It's just like some government or whatever that is kind of going behind the scenes and like doing stuff. Because I think we might have finally met somebody who might be an agent or whatever doing shit.
Yeah.
So,
they should introduce like the like FBI or CIA or some shit like that.
Some cleanup squad.
Yeah, like in JJK.
Yeah,
you know, the American military.
Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Just stop. I don't. You're gonna turn this. Yeah, go ahead.
Did y'all notice they took Obama out of the magazine?
Yeah.
With Trump. That shit was insane because neither one of them were president.
Disrespectful.
When the manga came out or when the anime came out. So it's like,
they did that with
popular presidents.
They did that with Dead Demons Destruction as well, and it was fantastic. If you guys aren't watching that, go watch it. It's amazing. Honestly, if you like DanDaDan, go watch Dead Demons. It scratches a very similar itch, but it's more of like kind of a Stranger Things vibe without like the kids or like a group. There's some romance. I think that if you want a similar itch to DanDaDan, but more focused on aliens, obviously, go watch Dead Demons. It's amazing. Yeah.
You know more than I do, actually. Would you say that Child of the Night scratches similar itch for the relationship aspect?
Call of the Night?
Call of the Night, yes, sorry.
No.
Between
not really.
You don't see Vampire Girls kind of like Momo and Okarun's kind of like Sleepy Boy?
No, not really. All right.
Whatever. I've only read the first volume. I apologize.
The male lead of Call of the Night is like he's a lot more confident than Okarun. He's just depressed. That's all.
Well, so is Okarun's little demon mode, which we didn't even talk about.
But whenever he's like in the night and stuff, like he's kind of like, it's kind of like Okarun, where like, you know how the voice actor was talking about how like Okarun's the type where when he's at home, he's like, "Where's my food at, bitch?" And whenever whenever he's at school, he's like, "Thank you very much," like that sort of thing. Like it's kind of like that, except it's more of like bro's just like dead silent during the day or asleep or whatever, and then at night he's just a normal human being that is able to talk to like vampire women all the time.
Which I will say I do kind of wonder, because I remember that explicitly being said and I thought that was awesome and decent characterization. I don't know who Okarun's talking to like that at home, because again, I think he's just home alone forever, which is why he hangs out at fucking Momo's house.
I don't think that the voice actor knows.
No, I know.
I don't think he's read that far, because he was describing like what his reading process is, and he says he only reads shit during the audition, so he's not disappointed if he doesn't get it. So I think he'll probably catch up at some point and realize that. But a couple of things that we didn't touch on. The OST was really solid. I loved the OP. Creepy Nuts, another smash fucking hit. Like they saw the Mashal effect. They saw that Creepy Nuts literally revived Mashal's manga from the fucking dead. And they were like, let's get them on it. They're hot. They're hot right now, and I've been on that Creepy Nuts train again ever since Call of the Night. It's fucking amazing.
It reminds me of the Digimon movies, where it's like Digimon, and I was like,
yeah. No, it was great. And then the ED was really solid as well.
I love the ED.
I love like I'm not going to say which character it is. The cat banging their head, fantastic. A little bit spoilery if people look into that at all, but it is what it is.
And that's all side story stuff for that character. Like,
that actually happens.
Yes, like occasionally,
like bonus chapters.
Yeah, like cat lady adventure, and then it's like, oh, you found a kitten and you want to raise it.
They need to do some Juju Stroll style shit for this series with some cat shenanigans. I need that. I need that so far. Yeah, I'm excited for this. Guys, why don't we just give some closing thoughts and talk about how we're feeling about it, like if we're excited for it and whatnot. Pete, I haven't started off with you very much today. You're our typical seasonal manga expert as someone who watches all the good stuff and a lot of the bad stuff as well. Tell us how you think that this is going to stack up in the fall season.
Yeah, so what I'm looking forward to the most with DanDaDan is that with Science Saru, with Yasuo, or what's his fucking name?
Fugo Yamashiro?
No, the old guy who ran Science Saru.
Oh, yeah.
What the director, what's his name?
Yuasa. I literally have his thing over there.
Yeah, with Yuasa sort of being out of Science Saru, this is like the first major property that they're tackling. So I am looking for something that sort of sets the new tone of Science Saru, because they are known for being such a unique animation studio. If you've seen Devilman Crybaby, if you've seen Inuo, if you've seen Keep Your Hands Off of Aizoken, they specialize in really making something their own and using that their own style to elevate the source material. So far through 3 episodes of DanDaDan, I think they're doing a really good job. I don't think it's going to win like any animation awards, but I would say this is probably like top 10 best animated shows I've seen so far this year. So I am looking forward to seeing something if Science Saru can make DanDaDan their own and really set it apart like they have done in the past. I thought that DanDaDan did a fantastic job with the visual comedy. I laughed more at their antics more than their dialogue, which I was a little surprised, because when I was reading it, I laughed more at the dialogue than their antics. So I do like that they are elevating that aspect a lot. I think there's going to be in a lot of people's like top 5, top 10 of the year. I think this is really good. I just think when you're in a year where Frieren came out, like, you don't stand a chance. However, I think this is great. I give the manga an 8. I'm leaning more like this is probably gonna be like an 8 or a 9 for me when it's all said and done. I think this is gonna be like a very, very good show.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, especially like the I guess quote unquote physical humor aspect of it, seeing it animated. It feels like they really wanted to elevate that. I definitely agree with that point. Chrissa, how are you feeling about it? You're the leader of the DanDaDan Hive. Is this? I feel like I remember whenever it got announced, Science Saru, like I think it leaked that Science Saru was going to be doing it. I remember you expressing that you were overjoyed by it, like it was kind of like a near perfect studio for it, which I agree with. I think that Science Saru, I would love for them to
This or Trigger.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really hoping for Trigger.
Yeah, honestly. Trigger would have killed it too.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about it, Chrissa? What do you think so far?
I honestly feel like Trigger would have done a few things better as far as the anime. Not saying the animation was bad, because I really did love it, but there was a part whenever Turbo Granny comes through the phone, and I read the manga kind of right before we started this as well, just to kind of refresh on it. And literally, Turbo Granny like bites the Serpo by his crotch area, and like in the manga, and throws him across the room, and it was way more like apparent what was going on. Whereas in anime, it kind of just looked like she pops out of the phone, bites him, then all of a sudden he just flies across the room, and you don't really know how it happens. Yep. But like physically, she threw him she threw him with her mouth in the manga. But other than that, like that's just me being like a stickler. Like I'm like, for the things that they did right, I think it outweighs the little small gripes I had with it. But there were 100%. A couple things that I saw that I was like, I feel like they could have done this a little bit better. But the important things I feel like they did really great. I know there's a lot of sticklers for animation that are going to be, you know what happens every time an anime drops on a timeline. Somebody screenshots the worst possible screen cap you could get, and then they compare it to the craziest. I know they're going to do that a lot. But for the most part, I think they did a great job adapting the heart of what makes DanDaDan so great, which was scary because they could have just chalked it up to like 100% trying to make it into that rom-com or make it into just the horror show and not capture all of the things that DanDaDan's juggling. I think it does do a great job of juggling everything. I really do like the OST, not even just the opening and the ending, but like the music they play in the background. Like for the softer moments, I really enjoyed some of the music they had. Some of the higher paced music they had for the actiony scenes was really got your heart pumping. But I'm just curious to see what they do in the future. I hope all the other characters get great introductions. I hope they can keep this quality up for 12 and then 24 episodes for the second core.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Josh, why don't you tell us about it? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, so I think to kind of like mirror Chris a little bit, I'm hoping it's intentional, although I will give them grace because they were clearly trying to mash out these 3 episodes to like have this premiere. I'm hoping that some of like the stutter or like some of the drop of the mid frames is an intentional thing. and like it's an animation choice where like we're going to get a little bit more of a streaky type fight, you know, like something like that's a little more like grimy, especially with like how the way that Okarun, especially whenever he mode shifts, you know, like that I think is perfect. We didn't get to see too much of it because he's not at his limit yet, you know, but I really liked how we did a lot of like the transformations with Turbo Granny Share and take over. So I'm hoping all that like is an intent, and that as you get more episodes and you see how it plays out more, like, you know, it'll make sense of like, oh, that is a stylistic choice, not necessarily like I would never accuse animators of being lazy, but like a cost saving measure. You know, so I'm still waiting to see on that. I overall though, I'm still pretty much happy with all of that. Like I noticed like during one, especially the end of that fight that we didn't really get too into, like they kind of had like the stopped frame or whatever that was almost meant to be like a manga panel. I thought it went over well. I can see how other people wouldn't like it.
Was it not just a panel from the manga? I legitimately thought it. Okay, I thought it was literally just a panel from the manga.
Yeah, exactly. Which some people, I think, if you like you said, if you're one of those guys on Twitter, you might think that's lazy. But if you're
I liked it.
A manga head, or if you're into it or whatever, you think that's awesome. And I think that's where we kind of have to like see how it shakes out. But yeah, overall, really happy about it. Again, I think they adapted it well. I remember that fight and I appreciated it because it shows that early on, the first real fight that we have, because I don't really consider the Sherpos much of a fight, Momo is not a damsel. Respectfully, she's not a Orihime, she's not a whatever. She fights just as hard, if not better than Okarun, because one thing that stays persistent, even when the others come in, her endurance is almost unmatched. She is like the last one to go down in a fight. She always can give that extra like 10%. She's like, if anything, she's almost like the tank of the group. And I appreciate that we showed that early, and that, you know, like Okarun isn't going to constantly at least be going in to save her. It's very egalitarian, which I think helps with the rom-com aspect. Overall, I think the animation was great. I think the sound was really good. I think the comedy parts did hit. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I'm very happy with this so far. I don't think there's really much of anything they could do to make me not happy with it, because I'm just, you know, I like DanDaDan so much as a core based story. Just seeing it animated with any kind of love and care, I'm happy with. Like I will never turn my nose at it. This just pretty much for me solidifies the case of, am I going to read it and also watch it, or am I just going to stick to the manga? And this is definitely a duo, you know. So yeah. Same thing with JJK. You know, I read and I watch.
Yep, so yeah. And as for me, I'm definitely super excited for this. I haven't started formulating what I plan to watch quite yet for the fall, but this is definitely towards the top of my list of like, I mean, I'm not going to watch it every single week because I've already seen the first 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably not going to watch those when they come out. But once that 4th episode comes out, I'll be there on my catch-up days because I don't quite have time to watch anime after work anymore. I'll be enjoying it. I thought that it was pretty masterfully done for the first 3. I think that I understand why they chose to release it to hype this up. And I think that they realized that like the DanDaDan fandom, even if it was like not as massive, like it is a huge fandom, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as massive as like your, you know, My Hero Academia's, your JJK's, whatever. They released it, like we said at the beginning, this was for the day ones. They did this for the fans and stuff. And I think that that says a lot about the care that is going to be put into this project. And I think that overall it's in good hands, which is, you know, sometimes that's the most you really need for your favorite property. And I'm glad to see that something that, you know, 2 people that I care about, Chrissa and Josh, you guys have cared about this for so long. I'm happy for you to see that it's being adapted well. Yeah. So that about wraps it up for us, guys. Chrissa, why don't you start us off since you're our guest of honor? Tell the people where they can find you at and what stuff you got going on. I think you released a project somewhat recently, if you want to plug that.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming out. I'm about to start flooding the second or the last quarter of the year with a bunch of drops. Like next week, I got music coming out, Kaiju number 8 influenced, and then the week after, when the DanDaDan season starts, I got more DanDaDan anthems coming out specifically for the manga readers. So if you're listening to this and you want to go listen to that, be caught up with the manga at least to a certain extent. I do drop some spoilers in there, but it's just to celebrate the anime coming out. It's not really for the anime only to kind of listen to it before the season starts. So definitely go follow me on Twitter at Chrissa SJE. I got a lot of stuff going on right now. The content's ramping up for the last quarter of the year.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited to hear about that, honestly. Like there was a little hiatus you took where I was a little bit worried, I'm not going to lie, but I'm glad to see that you're back to dropping and working with some really cool people, you know, like obviously it's people like Nick Grand and that sort of thing. Like the producers especially, it's always a treat to see who you get on your projects. Pete, why don't you tell us about where we can find you at, what you're excited for, that sort of thing?
Yeah, you can find me at my anime podcast, What You Say Anime. That's What You Say Annie on Twitter. Coming up, we got the fall preview, so we talk about DanDaDan on there too, and other new shows that are dropping this fall. It's going to be an insane season with like Uzumaki and stuff like that. It's going to be nuts. Summer review. We got Blue Giant coming up, the new Netflix movie that, or I guess it's a movie, but it dropped on Netflix recently. We're going to be reviewing that. So we got a bunch of, weekly anime content. Check out my podcast.
Yeah, you guys can also find me there about 50 to 75% of the time, depending on the month, more or less. So, if you want more Jay, you go to What Do You Say Anime. Josh, last but not least, of course, why don't you tell us where we can find you at and if you got anything that you're excited about?
Well, I'm excited about the fact that it sounds like Chris is dropping a Christmas album. So I'm looking forward to that personally.
That's going to go crazy.
Yeah. A lot of sleigh bells.
Etchy Christmas.
But yeah, man, I'm doing all right. I'm going to be heading out for my work in a couple of weeks to like a pipeline safety conference thing, which is kind of cool over in Atlanta, Georgia. Still talking about that to make that happen. Other than that, yeah, I'm just like generally excited for this DanDaDan thing. Over at the Bros Who Think Network, I may or may not be dropping like live reactions now. I don't know, like Lynn, who I care about deeply, says that he needs more stuff for shorts. So I'm like, I'm already going to read the manga anyway, like as soon as it drops. So like, I'll send it to you and you can cut it and make me look terrible and, do whatever you need to boost the views, But yeah, so overall, you can find me there doing the One Piece thing. You can find me as always at Manga Melee doing the Manga Melee thing. And I'm just happy that we all got a chance to sit around and talk about this. So you can follow me at Josh Toskler, or you can follow me at Versen pretty much anywhere.
Awesome. And if you guys want to find me / the pod, well, you can't find me on social media anymore. I quit that shit. You guys ruined it for everyone. Congratulations.
I'm here though.
Yes. But if you want to follow the pod, you can follow the Manga Melee pod over on Blue Sky. I've been fucking with it heavily. I need to post more, but it's just like there's a lot less Nazis over there than on Twitter / Elon Musk X.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's been pretty cool. Been a lot of interesting creators over there too. You can follow us at manga, or I guess not at, it's just like mangamelee.bluesky or whatever. Just search up Manga Melee on Blue Sky. If
you guys want to, you know what to do.
If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, you can do that as well. Give us a 5-star rating wherever you find podcasts. It helps a lot. Leave a comment. Honestly, leave a comment that says something bad, even if you want, as long as it's like a 5-star rating. I don't like good comments are always appreciated, but if you want to say a bad comment, do that as well. No matter what you do, say it loud and say it proud.
Hate comments are better because it starts arguments, which increases engagement. So if you just want to like say we're annoying and then our one defender will say we're not annoying, that actually is the best possible scenario.
True. It reminds me of that one time where Pete and Miles didn't talk about The Dangers in My Heart season 2. That fucked me up. I had to leave a comment. I left a comment about it, honestly.
Yep. Talk about how we're not going to talk about or sequels. And then they get upset that we didn't talk about sequels. It's like funny. If only I stated that in the episode.
Listening is harder than reading.
It is hard.
Sometimes.
So what about
podcast?
What about JJK2?
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't you review that a year after release, Pete?
I did review it on the review episode. Just on the preview episode, I didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
The thing with sequels is if you watch the first season, you're probably going to watch the second season.
Hell yeah.
You don't need me to tell you.
And guys, we also got some cool stuff coming out on Manga Melee. We'll probably be doing some more talking with Chrissa when he drops music to, promo that, talk about the influences and like maybe see how the sausage is made a little bit. Because Chrissa honestly is a tastemaker in the anime community, or manga community especially. Like he's got some gems.
I try.
And we'll also be doing a review of Orb on the movements of the Earth. Got an anime for that coming out soon. That's the fall season 2, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Next season.
Awesome manga, music by the same person who does the music for DanDaDan as well. So we'll be reviewing that soon. Look for that on your feed. And as well as your regular Manga Melee episodes where we talk about news, charts, etc., etc. If you guys have listened this far, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. And as always, free Palestine.